Hello class, Mr. Stone here. Today we're going to go over exponent rules. I got some problems underneath. We'll do them and I'll explain how they're done. And you're going to find, well, this is a little easier than I thought. Okay. The first one, we got 2 square raised with brackets raised to the third power. Now, which rule above? I put them up there so you can look at them and you learn them. A lot of this is just working with these, and after you do it a few times, you're going to say, oh, I got this, I got how this works. But on each one of these, I'm going to have the rules right above so you can look at them and use them as a reference. Now, above, what rule looks like these problems you got? I'd say it's a power rule right here. This power rule, okay? So, but let's do the middle one first, okay? Because that doesn't deal with a constant above, in front of it. So we got x to the 6th raised to the second power, okay? So if you look above, it says you times it. So it's x to the 12th. That's the answer. Let's make this a little regular. X to the 12th. And that's the whole answer, just like that. And now let's do the third one. So we get y to the 5th raised to the 4th power. It says you times it. So it's 4 times 5. So it's y to the 20th. And that's the answer. Let's square it off so the teacher knows, hey, my answer is 20. Okay, now let's go back to the first one. Now, this here, right, is really, we can count the 2 as a constant. So it's really 2 to the 6th. Just like that. And that's your whole answer. You could work out the 2. You can do 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. Okay, if you wanted, but you can leave it like that. And truthfully, that will work out fine. Okay, and that's basically all you got there. Okay, and let's move down to the next one. Okay, so that was kind of easy. Okay, the next one. Now, what do we got here? Truthfully, we're still in the product rule. Okay, the power rule here. Okay? So we're still doing this. We still got the brackets with that. Okay? So we do the first one, but the first one's a little different this time. Okay? Because you get 4 to the a to the 3rd raised to the 2nd power. But you really have to do that one first and then this one. Okay? So we get 4 square is 16. Now, a to the cube raised to the 2nd is a to the 6th. You multiply them, just like it says in the product power rule. Okay? And that's all there was to that one. Okay? You just got to remember that you got to do everything that says. Just like on this next one, the second one, the 4 goes over there and the 4 goes over here. Okay? So it's m, you multiply them, m to the 8th, and n to the 20th. And that's all there was to that one. Now let's do the next one. Now, remember how we did the first one. Really, this goes on each one of these. Okay? So 3 square is 9. Now the x is really x to the 1st. So we get x to the 1st times square is x to the 2nd. X square. Now the y is y to the 5th. So 5 times 2 is y to the 10th now. And that's all there was to that one. You see how easy that really was? So you kind of just got to memorize the rules above, okay, or learn them as best you can, okay, and you'll see after a few times doing this, you're going to say, oh no, I got how to do this. Okay, let's go down to the next one, okay. The next one, okay. Now this is a little different, okay. This doesn't look like the power rule. Actually, if you look right above, it's the product rule right here. So what we got there, it says if the constants are the same, which is 2 and 2, okay, you add them. Okay, so we got 2 and 2, raised to the second, raised to the third, you add them. So it's going to be 2 to the fifth. And that's all there was to that one. Now, the next one, okay? Let's go over to the third one. We'll do the third one next, okay? So we got the constants, add them. So we got x to the fourth, x to the third is x to the seventh. Now we got y to the third, y to the 10th, it's y to the 10th. That's all the product rule says. You just add them, okay? Now, let's look at the next one, okay? Now, the next one's a little different because they put brackets around it, okay? The brackets insinuate you got to do the multiplication. You got to multiply this times this, okay? So both of these got to be multiplied together. So 3 times 6 is 18. Now the next one, b to the 9th times b to the first. Don't forget everything. If it doesn't have an exponent, it means it's to the first. So it says you add them, so it's going to be b to the 10th. And that's all there was to that. But you see how that worked? So you got to remember, you got to go to each one of these, okay? Now let's go down to the next one. Let's see how the next one works, okay? Now the next one, right? They gave you a fraction here, okay? This fraction really, okay, we go back to the power rule again. You see how that is? Okay? So, but really, when they raise something like this, it can be written like this, m to the 5th square over n to the 3rd square. So it can be written like that. It can be rewritten, okay? So now if you rewrote it like that, how's the power rule say? It says you multiply it. So this would equal m to the 10th over n to the 6th. And that's it. That's your answer. But you see how easy that was when you looked at it like that? It's a little different, okay? So now the next one, okay? This can be rewritten 2 to the x to the 4th. Nope, 2 to the x to the 3rd. I'm sorry, I don't know why I wrote 4. I think I was looking outside of the 4th. Okay, raised to the 4th over y raised to the 4th. Okay, but now remember what we said before. Now, the 2 has to be raised also. Okay, can't just be the x. So you got to raise the 2 to the 4th. So you can write it like this, 2 to the 4th. Okay, x. Now, what does it say you do it here? It says you multiply them, okay? So it's 3 times that is 12, okay? Now, over y, which was y to the 1st in reality, now it's y to the 4th. And that's your answer. Just like this. You could multiply out the 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. If your teacher allows it, and most of them do, you could just leave it like this, okay? You don't have to actually carry that out unless they tell you to go all the way to the end, okay? Because all that's going to do is make room for another error. You know, by multiplying the 2 times the 2 is 4, times 2 is 8, times 2 is 6. You know what I mean? So you could leave it like that, okay? And most of the time the teacher will know, hey, you got this down, okay? And you just didn't have to go further unless the problem says carry it all the way to the end, okay? Now, let's see on the next one. Same thing. You could rewrite this. 9 to the x to the 4th cube over 3x to the 2nd, okay? Cube. So this could be rewritten 9 to the 3rd, x to the 4th, x to the 12th. Then it could be 3 to the 3rd, x to the 6th. And that's your answer. But now what I do with this one, okay, you got a few little things you could do. you could reduce this, okay? You could have probably reduced it in the beginning, and I should have, okay? But you can reduce it now, okay? Now, I'm going to utilize the one below, okay? So that this could actually cross this out. 3 goes in the common denominator, so you'd have 3 over 1 to the third. 1 to the third. And now x to the 6th, x to the 12th would be x to the 6th at the top. And this crosses out because 1 times 1 times 1 times 1 is only 1. Okay, so this is gone. So you'd have 3 to the third, x to the 6th. And that's your answer. So it would probably come to be 27, x to the 6th. Okay, but you could have reduced it in the beginning. Okay, you could have reduced it up here. Cross this out, and you end up with 3. Cross this out, you end up with x squared. Okay, is how you could have done it. But even though, as you see, I carried it all the way through without doing that, and you can still reduce it at the end. Okay, you just got to remember you need the least common denominator. And then on the x's, you got 6 of them on the bottom and 12 of them at the top. You can cross those out. Just cross them out. Okay? If you cross out 6 on the bottom, you got to cross out 6 on the top. And then you end up with only 6 left. So it'd be x to the 6th. And that's your answer. Okay? Let's go on to the next one. Okay? Now the next one, I'm going to use the chart above. Okay? Now what you have here is what they call the negative rule. Okay? The negative rule. As you see, the example they give you here, it shows a to the negative x. And if you look at how they come out with it, it's 1 over a to the positive x. Okay? So if it reverses that way, it will reverse the other way. So if you have n to the negative 5 at the bottom, it can be reversed to n to the 5 at the top. Positive. Okay? So it just flips it. When you flip it, you just change the signs. That's all they're doing is, if you look at it, all they're doing is flipping the signs. Okay? And that's your answer. You just flipped it and got a positive one. Okay? And it can be flipped back and it would be a negative one at the bottom. So if you flip it, it changes the sign from a negative to a positive. Now on the next one, what the next one's showing, right, is really you got 7 positive ones and 2 negative ones. So if you do the math, you're going to end up with x to the negative 2. Okay? Now, we just learned you could take x to the negative 2 at the negative rule up here and flip it and come out with 1 over x squared. And that's your answer. Just like that. See how they did it on the negative rule up above? As far as the rules, you almost have to just memorize them, okay? And just learn them. And you're studying for a test, just look at them the day before, look at them the next day, look at them the next day. Just keep studying for them, okay? And you'll get them. And after you do enough of these problems, you're going to say, oh yeah, I know how to do this one. I know how to do this one. And it will come to you, okay? And if you like this video, give me a thumbs up. Subscribe to my YouTube channel to help my YouTube ratings. And remember what I always say is math can be fun. Have a great day. Thank you. Bye-bye.